All right, everybody, welcome back to the 85th edition of the Facts Over Feelings podcast. I am once again joined by my friend Ryan Marister, my other friend Jack Eden. Boys, how we doing? Sorry for the delay in episodes. We've been on some vacation, graduation stuff. Jack Eden is starting work here in a couple days. He's a multi-job kind of guy with the podcast and an internship this summer. Anyways, we got a lot of NBA for you guys on this pod today. We're going to recap the Eastern Conference and Western Conference finals, and we are going to give our finals predictions. With that being said, the finals have already started. We are filming this podcast on Saturday, June 4th, I believe.
June 4th,
and game one obviously has already happened. But before we get to that, we will now recap the Eastern Conference finals. Boston beating Miami in 7 games. Me being 3-0 on Celtics predictions this postseason, Ryan being 0-3, Jack being a little better at 1-2. But I'm going to hand it off to, I guess I'll hand it off to Jack here because he said it, Celtics in 7. That was his prediction. He got it exactly right. And I just want to hear your thoughts, Jack, on how it played out.
Yeah, I mean, it feels good to be right, on both the team and the games. I don't know, Ryan's still looking to feel that at some point, especially on the Celtics. But anyways, I just thought it was a great series. There's a lot of back and forth throughout, and it's not necessarily how I would have thought that they would have gotten to 7 games, but it's how they did. And I think 2 things that really stood out to me. The first one, Jimmy Butler is excellent. He is someone who I remember, I think Colin Cowherd was saying it. You look at all these guys who play great during the regular season, and then the playoffs come and they kind of fall off a little bit. And then no one really acknowledges the opposite side when, they're a good player throughout the regular season, and then they rise to superstar level in the playoffs. And I think, you've seen this from Jimmy Butler, both in this postseason and during the bubble run back in 2020 as well, getting that team to the NBA finals, and they were 1 game away this year. I believe he's had the most 40-point games in the playoffs, probably about 4 or maybe even 5. And he really has been just the catalyst for that Miami Heat team throughout. But they ran into a good team in Boston who has taken out arguably 3 of the scariest teams in the Eastern Conference this postseason, in the Nets, the Bucks, and the Heat. And now, they've earned their way here to the NBA Finals behind Jason Tatum. Ime Udoka has been a great coach, and then their defense is really what's been carrying them throughout. They just need to get a little more consistent on the offensive end if they want to end up taking this series from Golden State. They already took game 1 in excellent fashion, coming back from 16 down in the second half. But this is a scary team, and they've earned their way to be here. And for me, it's difficult to pick against them now. But Jimmy Butler was fantastic. The Miami Heat were just short, but it's ultimately because of the second reason, which is Ime Udoka and this swarming defense and how this team plays together from the Boston Celtics.
Trevor, can I go ahead?
Go ahead, Ryan.
This is once again another instance of me wanting the Celtics to lose, and they just don't lose. I don't know. I sit here and watch this series. Trevor and I watched this game 7 together, and one thing stood out to me more than anything, and it's the thing that most teams want but can't have and don't have, and that's consistent shooting. And that's what Miami did not have in this game 7. That's what they didn't have in a lot of this series. That's what they didn't have in a lot of these playoffs. They'd be very, very hot and cold. And, it starts with a lot of their role players, even some of their supposed stars. Kyle Lowry being the first guy I wanted to bring up. This guy, I know he had a hamstring injury. I get it. But he was like a shell of himself. You talk about James Harden falling off a cliff. Look at Kyle Lowry. This guy was really, really good for years in Toronto. He was the one, kind of like the 1B to DeMar DeRozan, maybe even the 1A, you could argue, actually, for years. And he was really good. And you look at him here, and he just didn't show up. In game 7, 4 for 12, 1 for 6 from 3. That's what you get from a guy you're paying $30 million. That's not going to cut it. You look at your other role players, PJ Tucker, 0 points, a -16 in box plus minus. It only played 17. That's what you get from a guy who was a champion last year. Your dog, your veteran, to bring that gritty mentality along with Jimmy Butler. That's not going to cut it. Victor Oladipo, he is so someone's going to pay him like a halfway decent salary, and it's going to be a waste. He's such an inefficient scorer. He goes out there and shoots 1 for 7 from three. I mean, it's just like I could go on and on and on. And this happened in a lot of these games with these role players. They're not stepping up. Max Strus was like 1 for 25 at one point in this series. I mean, his only bucket being a dunk. It was unbelievable how bad these role players were. And Miami lost this in 7 games. I mean, Jimmy Butler, let's just know how good Jimmy Butler was. He had 35 in game 7. He had multiple other 30, 40-point games in the series. Bam Adebayo was pretty good in the series. I know, sometimes he took some tough shots, some tough fadeaway mid-rangers. I get it. But he was good in this series. I mean, he had 25 in game 7. He shot the ball well. Miami just needs other guys who could shoot, and they don't have that. They just don't. And it boggles my mind. They paid Duncan Robinson $90 million to have him ride the bench. He's getting paid $90 million, and they refuse to play him. I get he's a defensive liability, but at some point, you have to realize you need to shoot better than 6 for 30 from 3 if you want to win. That's so hard to overcome. So I don't know. Miami just didn't have the shooting, I guess, in the series, and that disappointed me. But they still almost stole this game. And, at first, Trevor, I want to talk about that 3 that Jimmy Butler took at the end of this game in game 7. At first, I talked about this with Trevor. I was like, that's a bad shot. But after thinking about it, Trevor said it was a good shot, and Trevor was right. It was a good shot. You go for the win. You came back from down, I think 11 with a couple minutes to go to pull within 2 there. You're in transition. Al Horford stacking. Take the 3. Go for the win. I think that was the right play. Unfortunately, didn't make it. But anyway, it was just such a close game. Great series. Tatum was really good in a lot of these games. He's still inconsistent. That's why he's not a superstar. The guy will go out and shoot 2 for 14 in a game and then go for 35 the next game. So he's super inconsistent, but he's still a really good player. Boston's role players outplayed Miami's. As simple as that. It's just really weird to me. I thought Boston had a really weak bench, but look at them here. Al Horford's, kind of had a resurgence. Derek White's pretty good. Much to my annoyance, he's actually been okay in the last few games. He was horrible earlier. Let me just put it that way. He's been pretty good now. Grant Williams, I think I really like. I've liked him for a while now. Their guys have stepped up. So credit to them. Their guys stepped up, and Miami's didn't, and that's why they lost. Miami needs another player, and I'll get to that a little later. But this is a close series, and I'm just sad that Boston won.
Can I jump in real quick, Trevor, before you go?
Yeah.
I look back at both of these last 2 series that Boston has played, and Ryan brought up, the role players weren't able to step up, and that's the reason why Miami didn't win this series. Yeah. You could very well say that about the last series against the Bucks, but the thing that I like to take from it is, the Miami was 6 of 30 from 3 in game 7. Mm-hmm. The Bucks were 4 of 27 from 3 in game 7.
I know what you're gonna say.
So is that a credit to the role players not stepping up, or is that a credit to the Boston defense and Ime Udoka game planning to say we're going to let other guys beat us and not let
maybe probably, but that's still you need better role play, right? You just need better role players, right? So then they can't game plan that way. You know what I mean? You just need a better shooter. Right. You're right. You're probably right. But you need
I just want to make sure that Ime Udoka and the Boston coaching staff and this Boston defense gets their credit, and it's not just role players didn't show up, especially, different from the Milwaukee series. This game 7 was at home for Miami.
Yeah.
It's not all, the role players didn't step up. It's the Boston defense showed up and made it different for them to score.
Trevor, go ahead. What do you want to say?
No, you guys have covered the series well. I was actually going to echo Eden's point there. I think the role player struggling in these last 2 series is more of a tribute to Ime Udoka figuring out the formula for winning, right? Right. Role players aren't going to win you a series when you have a great coach on the other side who can figure out how to slow them down. And that's what Ime Udoka did. Right. Max Strus, he'll have a couple games. He was figured out, then he was shut down. Same thing with Victor Oladipo. Same thing with Bam Adebayo, right, for the most part. So I think Miami's lack of production from guys outside of Jimmy Butler in this series is more Boston's coaching and Boston's ability to figure out teams, just figure out teams' offenses. It's what happened with Milwaukee, and Ryan's shaking his head, but the proof is in the pudding, right? The role players did not step up in either series. Also, this was the second point I was going to make, and Ryan was basically saying it, but he said it at the very end. Miami needs another guy. Miami needs a number two. They need another superstar. They need a Donovan Mitchell. They need a Joel Embiid. I don't know. Joel Embiid's a very big fan of Jimmy Butler's. I'm just saying that. You can't win a championship with one guy and a bunch of role players. That's just not how it works. Not even LeBron James could do that, right? In 2018,
Yeah.
LeBron James dragged his team to the finals with a bunch of trash and
Kevin
then he got
Love,
swept.
like,
So you need a number two. Miami didn't have a number two. Ime Udoka was able to figure out how to slow down these role players. And you know what he said? He said, Jimmy Butler, you're going to have to beat us 1-on-5. And you know what? Jimmy Butler almost did it, which is how great Jimmy Butler is. He did it in game 6. He beat him 1-on-5 in game 6. Game 7, he almost did it, missed the shot at the end. And I agree with Ryan. I think it was a great shot. It was wide open. It was in rhythm. It was in transition. And it was a shot to win the game, and he just missed it. And sometimes you got to live with that result. But for me, this series is all about Miami not having a number two and Ime Udoka figuring out how to slow down these role players to the extent that they were just basically ineffective on the offensive end.
Look, we can move on from this, but I think it's a combination of both things. You have to understand, sure, the Celtics defense is really good, and we get that. But you look at the players Milwaukee had taking shots in that game, right? You have Grayson Allen and Pat Connaughton as your best shooters.
Who you've defended a lot.
Wait, what?
Who you've said are very good players a lot.
I never said they're very good players. Grayson Allen got hot in the Chicago series.
And yeah, they both shoot 40% from three.
I don't think Connaughton does. I'd be shocked if both did. You can look it up. But my point is those guys aren't reliable and consistent enough shoot. They never have been throughout their careers. Since when have we looked at Grayson Allen or Pat Connaughton throughout their careers and gone, these guys are these are the sharpshooters I want on my team?
Pretty sure you were saying how much you like their role players in the Boston series until they lost. That's what I'm confused about.
No, I said that Milwaukee's role players were better than Boston's. I said they were deeper, is what I said. I said they were deeper, which they are, but they just don't have shooters. You can have a bunch of stuff. You can have what you want. You can have great defenders. You can have great players inside. Brook Lopez is a really good role player, but he's not going to light it up from three. He'll hit one or two.
What you're trying to argue here.
What I'm trying to say is that these guys that Milwaukee and Miami are putting out there aren't really sharpshooters at all. Max Strus is supposed to be, but he's not a sharpshooter, man. This guy shoots, I think. No, he's not.
He does.
Yeah, but he doesn't make them.
Because that's what they guard him for. That's exactly how you game plan for that.
No, he hasn't. Coaching. He shot 32% from three this year.
That's coaching.
No, he didn't. He shot
in the regular season? In the regular season? Okay.
I think in the playoffs. I thought it was in the playoffs, actually, not the regular season. But
by the way, Pat Connaughton shot 39.5% from three this year, and Grayson Allen shot 41% from three.
Yeah. They did well in the regular season.
They're on the better side. I wouldn't call them.
No, they're good. They're good.
They're on their better side.
I didn't think that these were heavily contested shots they were taking. It's not they were taking shots that they should make when I was watching the game. My only point is that normally
so they're not reliable or they are.
Normally a 40% three-point shooter should hit that, but they just what I'm saying is you can credit the defense, but also they just brick their shots. It's not like they were heavily contested by Marcus. You know what I mean? It's not like every three-pointer that they were taking was there was a hand in their face. These were open shots. Miami also had open looks. They just brick them. They just they didn't make their shots. It's both. I just think it's a combination of both. They're the players, you can say that it was a lot of the defense and the game planning, which it probably was. They probably didn't want Butler to beat them, although he almost did. If you're game planning against Jimmy Butler, why do you let him drop 35? I don't know. But the players, I think, had some solid looks. My only point is some of that's the defense making these guys beat them, and credit to them, they didn't beat them. But I think some of it's also they just simply didn't hit their shots in the big game. It's just you know what I mean? They just didn't hit their shot. I don't know. They shoot well in the regular season, and they were just ice cold. And again, that might be some of Boston's defense. It definitely has to be because it's not a coincidence. You're right. I just mean I didn't think that a lot of these looks were super difficult, heavily contested looks when I was watching the game. I thought some of these shots were pretty straight up 3-point shots that they just weren't making.
I think the
But
pressure,
you know,
I think the pressure of a game 7 will get to role players more than it will get to superstars. And you'll see things like players missing open shots that they should normally make. And that's just because I just think that's just attributed to pressure and just attributed to role players not being in that or not feeling comfortable in that situation. I think it's what also happened with Milwaukee, where if the Bucks kind of had Chris Middleton, I think it would have calmed things down for a lot of the other guys. But a lot of the other guys now have to play an increased role. Boston has a lot of film. They kind of know what to do to game plan and slow that down. And then the pressure of a game 7 gets to you. And I think you just start missing shots that you normally make. So I think I agree it's a combination of both, but I would have to say it's more coaching than just guys missing shots, because I think it's the right guys missing the right shots, if that makes sense. Like if you want, I mean, if you can live, if you're Ime Udoka, you can live with Victor Oladipo and Kyle Lowry beating you from the 3-point line, right? Like if they make those shots, kudos to them, they're winning the game. And I think that's just shots that you live with. But the game planning for Jimmy Butler, you treat Jimmy Butler like a superstar. You defend him as well as you can. You let him get his, but you don't let other guys get involved with him. And that's what happened in game 6 and 7.
I mean, I guess so. You just let the superstar go off, right?
No, it's not what I said. I
You
said
don't-
you
you
guard
don't
him
let him go
I guard
off,
him as
like-
best you can. You guard him as best you can, but if he gets his, he gets his, right? You're not going to stop him. It's the same thing with guarding Luka. It's the same thing with guarding Giannis. It's the same thing with guarding.
I mean, this is a whole
LeBron.
other argument. I don't think that Jimmy Butler is like on the Luka level of offense or the LeBron level of offense.
He
or
was
the
this
Giannis level of
postseason.
offense.
He was this postseason, but
Yeah, that's true.
that's fair.
But like he has zero jump, like he has zero 3-point shot generally.
So speaking of 0 3-point shot, that's where I get into this debate on the last shot, just to switch gears.
Oh
real quick.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
first of all, the game plan against Jimmy Butler is he's not a good 3-point shooter, right?
Hasn't been
What
for
does
years.
he do
yeah.
in game 6? He comes out and shoots 50% from 3.
Yeah.
What for most of game 7, he didn't shoot as efficiently, but he still made, 2 or 3 threes in game 7. So I think, from that point of the argument, like he's made them in the last couple of games. He feels confident in it and he can do it. And on that play, Al Horford was giving him space, expecting a drive.
Mhm.
So was it an open look? Yes. I just don't think it's his game to go pull up 3. Like a lot of those threes he made in game 6 and 7 were catch and shoot threes from the corner, from the wing, not necessarily from like that wing top spot, as well as dribbling it up the floor. So that was kind of my problem with it. Plus, I get his argument with like, we're coming back, we're at home, we're going for the win. But I think that's a big issue in NBA basketball as a whole. Like you see, especially when it's a 3-point game and there's 20 seconds left on the clock, you can go get a quick 2 and still be in the game. But a lot of players will go for that 3 to kind of get the game to that point where they don't have to then go back and foul. And I think, if it's a 2-point game, there's no reason that you have to go for the win. Like you have all the momentum on your side. Boston hasn't scored in 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
I think, especially with his game and in that situation, I think you take Al Horford to the line or to the hole, and especially he's a big get to the line, shoot free throws kind of guy. I think that would have been the right play in that situation. And that honestly is the highest percentage play versus, a 2-point shot or a 3-point shot. Getting to the free throw line would be the most efficient way to get those 2 points.
Yeah, I like that you brought that up because that was my initial reaction to that shot. I was like, because I told Trevor, I was like, man, like he probably could have gotten around Al Horford. Like I know he was like, I think like around like the elbow or something. But like I was like he could have gotten around Al Horford, maybe gotten like some position, get a foul, get a shot in there. And that's Jimmy's game. Jimmy's game is physical, get in the paint, and make like maybe a mid-range jumper, like a just a layup. Like that's how he scores. Like he doesn't score by taking pull-up jump shots off the dribble, like from 3 especially. So I agree with you there. It was just like the reason I thought it was okay is just because it was so open, like thinking about it. But also like that's just not his game. So I get both sides of it. I really do. Like I know Trevor loved the shot.
Final thing before we move on. Here's why I like the shot, and this is where I kind of disagree with you, Jack, a little bit. One, it was wide open, and I understand it's not his game, but it's a wide open 3. And we all know NBA players hit wide open shots, even if it's not, their game. I mean, with their eyes closed, right? Like we see them in open gyms. We see them, before games just hitting shots left and right, right? Like, So for me, that was a very makeable shot. It was open, it was in transition, it was in rhythm. Number two, and this is where I get the argument of where he should drive, but I like that he took a quick shot because you don't want to let that Boston defense get set. I like the idea of trying to take a shot there in transition. It was off a live ball. It was either off a miss or a live ball turnover. And you don't want to let that defense get set. You don't want Boston to, get their matchups right where in transition you have Horford on Butler, but if you pull back, you can get Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown on Jimmy Butler. So the only other thing he should have done is he should have gone right to the rim to drive. But the fact that Al Horford was sagging leads me to believe that Horford was playing the drive and Jimmy Butler wasn't going to get a foul call, right? There's 10 seconds left in a game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Al Horford could have elbowed him in the face and they wouldn't have called a foul.
Well, okay. I've seen fouls called in massive moments.
Well, my argument is I don't think there would have been a foul called in that situation unless it was so blatant that it you couldn't have not called it, right? Like I think the refs are going to swallow the whistle there, which is
That's
why
fair.
I don't mind the 3-point shot.
That's fair. I also feel like, maybe if you're at home in a game 7, there's a more inclination to give you the whistle at that point.
That's fair. That's fair.
But you bring up a fair point. Like, I think as basketball fans, we don't want to see games decided by free throws. We want to see games decided, with shots and
Yes.
and good defense or good offense, and not necessarily like let free throws dictate the game. I agree. Like on the drive, I would have just gone right at Al Horford right away. I wouldn't have pulled it out and let them get set up. But I don't know. For me, either a drive or you pull up to the elbow and hit just something that's more in his game.
Fair.
I
Good
think
point.
would have been playing more to his strengths would have been more important to win there. But we can.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean.
Sweet.
Okay. Sure. We can move on from that. I suppose.
Series, we'll talk about the Western Conference Finals, but this will be brief because there's nothing to say here. I'll take it away. The Warriors were just the clear and better team. Dallas beating the Suns ruined the Western Conference Finals. It ruined TNT's ratings.
Suns choking.
And this series was just a mismatch. It was just a great team playing a good team with one great player, and Golden State beat the brakes off them. And I said it was Warriors in 6. I thought it'd be a little bit more competitive, but kudos to the Warriors. They were far and away the best team. It would have been a more interesting series if the Suns were there. But yeah, Dallas was just a clear mismatch. Or Golden State was just a clear mismatch for Dallas. Simple as, thanks Dallas, thanks the NBA. Thank you NBA for ruining the Western Conference Finals.
What?
Oh, giving Luke all those calls, but that's besides the point.
You lost by 40.
Oh!
Wow.
I know, I'm just better.
Not in game 4 with Chris Paul, but anyways.
Point being, there was one true contender and one pretender that got lucky. But go ahead.
Wow. Let me just say, oh my Lord, these Suns fans are so mad. But if only Devin Booker could show up in elimination games. But look, I'll talk about that in the offseason where he, didn't show up in game 6 against Milwaukee, didn't show up in game 7 against Dallas. What's new? But look, let's just talk about this Dallas Golden State series. Trevor's right. It was a mismatch from the start. I knew Golden State would win this. I thought it would be closer because Dallas was so hot this postseason, but I didn't realize Golden State, it's just such a great matchup for them because neither team runs with size, but Golden State is just the more experienced and better team. So, they're going to end up, making more adjustments, just being better on the floor with all their, extra role players. And they out-rebounded Dallas a lot in this series. I didn't really expect that. I thought it would be closer because, again, both teams were small. But, like, you look at game 5, Golden State out-rebounded Dallas by 17. It's like, how do you let that happen? Like, who's getting all these boards for Golden State? And, Kevon Looney was just an absolute animal, credit to him. He did his job. 10 points, 18 rebounds in game 5. He had a lot of rebounds in this series, and he just feasted. It just shows you Dallas needs a center. They need somebody in there with some sort of size. Even if you don't play them all the time, you need them in there for a series like this. You need someone who can compete on the glass. Like, even if it's someone like Steven Adams for a specific series, specific matchups, you need someone in there. They don't have that. They literally have no center. Powell is just not good. He's just not good at basketball. And then you have Kleba who can shoot, but he can't do anything inside of the paint. So he's not really a center. And then you have Marquise Chris on your bench, who literally has zero basketball IQ, so you can't play him. And yeah, so they need a center. It's clear to me. That's what they need to me. They need someone who can compete in there on the boards, get like Clint Capella, like someone is like, it sounds easy. It's not easy to get a guy like that, but they need someone like that. I actually know a guy named DeAndre Ayton who would fit really well in Dallas. Let me just say that. But we'll talk about DeAndre Ayton later.
I'll do that.
That's what I was thinking.
But look, that's what they need. And Golden State, I said it from the start of the year. I'm going to keep patting myself on the back until Golden State loses, which they will not, by the way. Golden State's the best team in the NBA. They're the best team in the West. I said it, and they proved that this year. They kind of stomped on through the West, seemingly with no issue.
Such an easy run to the finals.
Too. They're back. What can I say? Draymond Green's absolutely fantastic. Klay Thompson, I get annoyed by him, but he's good. He takes some unnecessarily difficult shots sometimes, which might be an issue in this series with Boston. Klay takes some really hard shots and like goes ice cold, and it's just an issue. So I'm a little worried about that, but he's been pretty good for the most part. He's hot and cold. Steph Curry, obviously Steph Curry. Andrew Wiggins has been kind of the X factor for them, in my opinion. If this guy can give them 15 a game, like in these finals, I'm really confident they'll win this series. He's kind of, like I said, he's the X factor. He's super athletic. He was the number 1 overall pick. I mean, he has ability, and being on Golden State allows him to be the 3rd or 4th option, depending on if he's ahead or behind Poole in a certain game. But yeah, and I even mentioned Jordan Poole. I mean, this team's just deep. They're smart. They're well coached. They're good on both ends of the floor. And we'll talk about the finals matchup in a second here. But like against Dallas, it was just all of that was just overwhelming, and Luka couldn't do enough. His role players couldn't do enough. I mean, Dinwiddie's the only guy that showed up, in my opinion, in some of these games. Brunson wasn't great again. I don't know. I'm interested to see how much Brunson gets paid, because I think he was a little overhyped in these playoffs. He's just too small, and he's a little too unreliable. I don't know. He's just a little unreliable to me. And it's just like he's very hot up and down, very hot and cold. And that makes me a little nervous. But yeah, overall, Golden State just missed it. They were just too talented, too well coached, and too experienced, and Dallas just couldn't handle it.
Yeah, here's what I have to say.
In your Sun shirt, might I add?
I am in my Sun shirt, and what pains me is Dallas. We've always heard that theory, win by the 3, die by the 3. And I think, it's frustrating for me as a Suns fan to look back and say, they won by the 3 for 4 out of 5 games in our series, talking about the last 5.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's just frustrating because that has never been a theory that has long-lasting success. Like I feel like win by the 3, die by the 3 is a very short-term idea of thinking. And that was brought to life, in this series against Golden State. Like when you run up and face an experienced team like that who has championship experience, they're going to figure you out, and they're going to make it difficult for you to win by the 3. And you saw that, they won 4 out of 5 games. Most of them weren't very close. It's just, it's frustrating to me as a Suns fan that they were able to win by the 3 against us and then go to Golden State, and then they clearly died by the 3. So that was something that kind of hit home for me. But anyways, you have to give Golden State a lot of credit. Kevon Looney had a 20-20 game in there. He's looked better than DeAndre Ayton ever has this postseason.
He did.
Honestly, yeah, such a big X factor for Golden State. And I think Ryan talked about it. The most important player on this Golden State team is Andrew Wiggins, which is funny to think. They have Steph, they have Draymond Green, some people would say. And I really think what Andrew Wiggins has given them this postseason on both sides of the ball, on the offensive and defensive sides. Like he's guarded Luka, he's guarded, Ja and all those guys on the
He's
other
guarding
side.
Tatum now, right?
And he's going to be guarding Tatum and Brown in this series without a doubt. And
he did a very good job.
And Tatum struggled in game 1.
Another thing that frustrates me is, Mikal Bridges is runner-up for the Defensive Player of the Year this year, and he was ineffective against Luka Doncic this series. Luka had his games. He had one or two, maybe three good games against Golden State, but Wiggins clearly took him out of his game for at least two of those. And that was the biggest difference. And one other thing I want to add against Luka is the clear contrast in styles of defending him from the Suns to the Golden State Warriors. The Suns said, we'll switch anything. And I guess, that's their defensive mindset. We can guard you 1 through 5.
Sure.
Clearly they couldn't. And, I said before this series, I like Luka Doncic going in the pick and roll, getting Steph Curry, getting Jordan Poole on him. And Golden State made it a clear effort to show Curry and get him back to push Doncic back and allow Wiggins to come under the screen and get back in position. And I think Luka was unable to figure it out. And I just think back to the Suns series and why couldn't we get Chris Paul to do that? Or, why couldn't we get Cam Johnson to do that and allow Bridges to get back? And I think, Bridges did okay, but he also wasn't guarding Luka on every possession because we would take the switch and he would go at the switch. So those are some things that I'm frustrated by, their lack of three-point shooting against Golden State versus us. But I think, that's ultimately coaching. Steve Kerr, I think that's their defensive philosophy because they have, Steph Curry on the floor at all times. But why wasn't Monty able to adjust? He just said, we're going to take our shot. And why isn't that in the thought process when, you have one of the best players in the world on the other side? And clearly, I hope we watch this series as a coaching staff and say, this is how we have to defend him specifically going forward. And I don't know, I guess it's, something you don't practice. But anyways, just to get off that tangent, shout out to Golden State, the most experienced team. When those three guys are healthy, they have never lost a series outside of the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
Well, they weren't fully healthy the entire series, if you remember.
They were healthy, but
Draymond Green got suspended.
That's what I meant. So
they haven't.
The stat was when they all play together in every game of a playoff series, they've never lost a playoff series.
That's impressive.
But the 2016 finals technically doesn't count because Draymond got suspended for that game 5. But
whatever. Okay.
But yeah, anyways, this team's good and they proved why they'll be back and they'll still be here for the next couple of years. So Doncic is on the come up. They got to add another piece or two. But as a Suns fan, I just sit here frustrated that we weren't there. And it's not because, Dallas earned their way there. They beat us. But I think, our lack of coaching adjustments fed into that.
I totally agree. I'll add on to one thing, and this is kind of what Golden State does because they know Steph Curry isn't a great defender. They do such a good job at, one, they don't switch as many ball screens. So they're going to have Wiggins fight through a ball screen or whoever. They're going to show Curry, but when they show Curry, the rest of the guys on the weak side or off the ball switch to other defenders to allow for Curry to recover back to a man that's not a mismatch. And I forgot what that's called. There's a term for that. It's called ghost switching or scramble switching or something like that, where other players switch defenders off the ball so that when Steph Curry shows on a ball screen, he's able to recover to a guy that's either closer to him or not a mismatch. And I think the Warriors do such a great job hiding his defense that it's not even it doesn't even become a liability just because they play such good team defense around him. And I thought that was a great point by Jack, and it's all coaching. And that's the frustration that us Suns fans are feeling right now, because this is a bit of a tangent, but that's always been Monty's kind of MO. He's not a big adjustment change guy. He's a guy that implements a system, implements a culture, and basically does it his way and doesn't change how he does it. And I think that was ultimately the downfall, but that's a tangent that we've talked about way too much already. Fellas, I don't know if you have anything else to add on this series before we talk about the NBA Finals. Ryan,
nope.
Nothing.
But Jalen Brunson's going to get paid this offseason.
He will, but
I think it's difficult. You saw in the Utah series when Luka wasn't there, who's so ball dominant. I don't think Jalen Brunson's game is, stand outside, wait for a pass, and shoot the three. He's very much a driver who likes to get inside. So I think there's a clear difference between when he's on the floor with Luka and when Luka isn't on the floor with him. So I think
you should be able to get it to work. like I don't want to go to like, but like LeBron and
Well,
Kyrie
it worked
are both,
against the Suns.
no, yeah, but like LeBron and Kyrie are all both super ball dominant, right? But like they would like trade possessions together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
Like,
that's because LeBron is a willing passer and a willing guy that like
is
he's
Luka not a willing passer? What?
not as much as LeBron. I would say LeBron definitely is more of a facilitator and gets other guys involved
I
type of
think
guy
they're
than
very
Luka is.
similar. The offenses that are run with Luka and LeBron are very similar.
I think
Very
Luka
similar.
is very much so a pass to get that other guy a shot
So is
versus
LeBron.
I think LeBron is, but I think not to the same extent. Like LeBron will pass and they could
Dude,
shoot, but there's also
we-
gives them a little more freedom. Whereas Luka is, pass to the 3-point line, shoot a 3-point shot.
But I
Maybe
think
that's
Luka,
I mean,
Luka's
that's just
dribble-
Dallas's MO.
Cleveland ran a very slow offense when LeBron was in Cleveland the second time. Like it was really slow. It was just LeBron ISO, LeBron drive or fadeaway jumper, or it was a drive and kick. Like my point is when he played with Kyrie, though, he would take possession. He wouldn't hold the ball for possessions and let Kyrie go to work. Like if Brunson wants to play with Luka, that's what Luka has to do. Luka didn't do that. Like that's what they have to do. Is my only point. Like
I think
Luka
they are
has to
very
take possessions
similar.
off and like let Brunson like hold the ball for a couple possessions and run his thing. Like that's
They
what
are
they have to
very
do.
similar players.
Yeah, that was my only.
But
Yeah,
anyways, Brunson will get big.
He will. I think he'll be best as a six man, like just like a score off the bench. You can run the second unit, but we'll see.
Before we got Chris Paul, I always would have loved him in Phoenix. But anyways, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, I don't know if that'll happen now, but hey, who knows? A little Brunson Ayton swap with a pick in there. Who knows? It'd be crazier things have happened. But look, let's move on to the NBA Finals here. I think that it's time to give our quick predictions for this matchup here. I'll go ahead real quick because we all know who I'm going to pick. I can't keep picking against Boston and switch on them at the end here. So I'm going to go with Golden State again. I got to stick with my guns. I stuck with them all year. I got to stick with Golden State, but I am nervous. I'm going to say Golden State in 7 games here, but I am nervous. I am very nervous because Boston matches up pretty well with them. They're a very good defensive team. They have size. Golden State, they don't have size. We'll see how impactful Kevon Looney is going to be in this series. We'll see. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I think that they can handle Robert Williams because if they can run a small lineup and make Robert Williams leave the paint a lot, I think that'll be hard. So I think they can handle that. But like Al Horford on the floor will be difficult because Al Horford can shoot. He can space the floor on the offensive side. And on the defensive side, he's proven to be a very capable defender. Same with Grant Williams. It'll be interesting to see how Golden State operates. I don't know, man. I'm a little nervous. Golden State, I thought played a really good game 1, but then like Al Horford just decided like he's like insane. Like I don't understand how he did it. Derek White too. Both of them in the fourth quarter just like didn't miss. And this is of the same vein of like what Trevor I think was saying about like coaching. Like look at Golden State. They shut Tatum down. He went 3 for 17, and they said, "Hey, Derek White, go make some threes." They said, Al Horford, go make some threes. And they made the threes.
Yes.
Like Golden State played it the way they wanted to. I'm thinking like how many adjustments is Golden State going to make? I don't think they're going to make that many. I think they're going to dare Derek White and Al Horford to go make 11 threes again. The two of them will not make 11 threes in a game the rest of this series. That just won't happen. They made 11 threes in game 1, the two of them combined. That won't happen again. So I think Golden State actually played the game they wanted. They shut Tatum down. Brown was pretty good, but he shot like 40 something percent. He was
like
good.
20 points.
Yeah, he had 24. He wasn't great. He was fine. But Tatum was terrible, and that's what you want. But their role players hit their shots. They got hot and they won. Yeah. So that makes me nervous. I think they're more experienced. Again, I think that experience in the finals, what is it? 6 finals now? Yeah, it's 6 finals now. Steve Kerr, probably one of the best in-game coaches in the NBA, in my opinion. He'll make the adjustments if they need any. I think they played a good game 1. I don't know. I think Boston just stole the game. They really did. There's no other way around it. Draymond was terrible shooting. I don't really know why he took 12 shots. I wasn't able to watch the first half, but like, was he taking were they open shots? I don't know. Like he was 2 for 12. Like
yeah,
that's like disgusting. Whatever. And they weren't even threes either. Like these are like in the paint or like what, like, ugh. Anyway, 2 for 12. That's not going to cut it. I don't know. I like Golden State. They have experience. They have shooting. They have a ton of depth, and I don't think Boston's role players are going to do as well as they did in game 1 the rest of the series. So I feel good about this in 7, but I do feel nervous. Like Boston, they're a great defensive team. Their role players have stepped up all postseason. I say they won't do this again, but who knows? They've stepped up time and time again, so maybe they'll do it again. But this does make me nervous. The size makes me nervous, but I have Golden State in 7 games.
I agree with a lot of what Ryan just said, which is rare for me to say, but I agree with almost everything he just said. And I look back on this game 1 and I think to myself, how did Boston really win this game? And I go, well, the size, they must have out-rebounded Golden State. Well, no, the rebounding was 39-39.
Yeah.
Well, Steph Curry must have played like shit. No, Steph Curry had 34 points on 50% shooting with 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, and just 2 turnovers. Well, then Jason Tatum went for 40. No, Jason Tatum was 3 for 17 from the field with 12 points. He did have 13 assists, which is rare, but so this leads me to how Boston won the game. Boston just got hot and just got really, really hot in the fourth quarter. Jaylen Brown, Al Horford, Derek White just started making everything. Golden State got a little cold with Curry on the bench at the beginning of the quarter. And I don't want to say it was a fluke of a game 1, but it was what Ryan said. Boston just stole a game that they probably shouldn't have won. Through 3 quarters, Golden State looked like the much better team. Curry had it going. Andrew Wiggins had it going. Now, Clay and Jordan Poole need to play a lot better. I think they were both pretty poor in game 1. But
especially
point being, you just kind of felt like Golden State kind of had the momentum. They had the rhythm. They had the home crowd. They just were coming off that big third quarter. And give Boston credit, because the way they got back into this game was they just kept making shot after shot after shot. Derek White, Al Horford, Peyton Pritchard, Jaylen Brown. They just didn't miss in that fourth quarter of the game 1. And that's why if I'm a Golden State fan and a Golden State predictor, I'm not overreacting, because I don't think Golden State did anything tremendously wrong in this game. I just think it was what Ryan said. Derek White and Al Horford just hitting 11 threes. Like that is, I don't want to say that's unheard of, but I have a hard time believing that that's going to happen again, right? Like those 2 guys shooting 65% combined from 3. Like that is incredibly, incredibly efficient. So for me, if I'm Golden State, I play game 2 very similar to how I played game 1. Make things tough for Tatum and Brown, check. Steph Curry got going, check. You definitely need more from your bench, but you did get some good production from Otto Porter and Iguodala. But I think Jordan Poole and Clay need to play a lot better. So that's something that they're going to look for. Maybe get Clay going earlier in game 1. Maybe get Jordan Poole going when he checks into the game, middle of the first quarter. And then the third thing is just force Derek White and Al Horford to beat you again, because that's what Boston did in game 1, and that's how they won the game. And if I'm Steve Kerr, I can live with that. And look, if it happens again, then maybe you make some adjustments. But I have a hard time believing that those 2 guys are going to hit a bunch of shots like they did in the fourth quarter of an NBA Finals game and lead you from 10 points down to a comeback victory.
Yep.
So if I'm Golden State, I'm not overreacting. I'm not going to panic, right? You've been here before. Al Horford, Derek White played great in game 1. The only scary thing is the fact that Jason Tatum was so bad and they still won that game. I think that's a little unnerving, just because you don't think Tatum's going to shoot 3 for 17 again. So that is concerning.
True.
But for me, I just think you make some small adjustments. You win game 2. You're very capable of winning a game on the road. I still got Warriors in 6. Give me Warriors in 6. I'm not feeling as good about that prediction today as I was when I made it before game 1, but I'm going to stick with my guns here and go Warriors in 6.
Eden?
Which is funny. I'm the Boston guy. I'm the Boston guy.
You are the
Boston. All Boston all postseason.
Let me say, if Boston wins this game, Trevor can no longer brag about being the Boston guy. Anyways, but
Man.
but I'm sitting here because I was originally on the dark side. I went with the Nets. I went with the Bucks. I was wrong both times, and there is something that clicked for me. This Boston team is really damn good. They're fantastic defensively, and that's what I love, especially come postseason. And so, what did I do? I came to the light, one would say.
You sound like me last year.
I picked
the
Boston
Suns
to beat the Miami Heat. They did. I picked them in 7. They did. What am I going with this time around? And what did I say before game 1?
Don't.
The Boston
No way.
Celtics will win in 7.
Oh, in Golden
Boston
State.
in Golden State. Hey,
Oh,
it's been done before. Cleveland
true.
has done it.
Yes, sir.
It's not impossible. But here, let me get into what I have to say. Yes, you're right. In the fourth quarter, everyone was hot on Boston. I believe they went about 9 of 12 from 3. They probably shot about 70% as a team in the quarter alone, which is ridiculous. I will acknowledge that. They outscored this experienced championship Golden State team 40-16 in the fourth quarter. And yes, the 40 is unrealistic. Will it happen again? Probably not. But I could definitely see the 16 happening again with this defense. They turned it on. They flipped the switch. Ime Udoka had these guys going. Marcus Smart, you saw a clip on Instagram of him firing his guys up in the huddle. I can see that 16 happening again. I don't see it happening often, but I can see that happening. Next, Jason Tatum, 3 of 17. I love that. He went 3 of 17, and they still won this game on the road to a team who has not lost at home all postseason. I think that's unheard of. The team, the role players stepped up. They played great. They're not going to do that consistently. But the only 3-point numbers I'm really like, that's out of nowhere, were Derek White's 5 of 8.
Yeah.
Pritchard can hit a couple. He's not going to be as efficient as 2 of 3. He could go 2 of 5, 2 of 6 for a game.
Mhm.
Al Horford was 6 of 8. He's not going to be that efficient, but he can hit, in a game, especially if you're targeting your focus on Brown and Tatum drives. He's shown this postseason that he can hit the corner 3. Marcus Smart's been a little up and down, 4 of 7. He's capable of hitting 3 or 4 in a game on good looks, and he takes a lot of threes. So
Yeah.
I would bet that he would get to at least 3, probably once or twice more. And then you look at the other side. You were talking about, how you focus your defense on the top players, and then you let the role players take their shots, and if they make them, you live with it. Draymond Green, you made Draymond Green take 12 shots in game 1.
Yeah.
I love that. Stick with that same mentality. Jordan Poole couldn't get going.
He was terrible. Yeah.
Klay Thompson couldn't get going. The only guy on the bench who really, had it going, and I'm fine with that. Otto Porter,
My
he's
boy.
the guy who can make them. Believe me, I wouldn't want to say, leave him open. But if you're asking me, would I rather have Steph or Klay taking that shot over Otto Porter? I would rather let Otto Porter take the 3. So that's something.
Hey, give my guy Iguodala some credit. Andre Iguodala.
He played well for he hasn't played in a long time. So I kind of figured he'd be back with that experience, and he can give them a little bit off the bench. But basically, what my point is here is, yes, Boston got hot in the fourth quarter, and will the role players play that well again? Probably not, and I would guess definitely not on the road. But Boston did what they needed to do to win game 1, and they've done their job already. They've stole one of the first 2 games on the road. They have home court advantage. And I think from there, I expect Golden State to come out and win game 2. They're going to be fired up. It's going to be 1-1 heading back to Boston. But now Boston's in control, and I think all you could ask for from Boston is taking 1 game on the road. So from that side, I really love the position that Boston's in right now. And I think, Tatum will definitely get better. Will it be a difficult series? Yes, but he's going to be ready to go come game 2. I mean, I just feel good about Boston right now. And I had, Boston in 7. I've come to the light. When it happens, I can laugh at Trevor, but for jumping ship and abandoning them. But I think, this is going to be a back and forth series. It's not going to be all Boston. It's not going to be all Golden State. While I say Boston has the home court advantage now, I am willing to bet right now that Boston does not win all of their home games. I think it's going to be back and forth. It's going to be 1 or 2 games here, 1 or 2 games there. And I think this series goes a long way. And ultimately, I like Boston in the end. I don't know why. I love their defense. And I thought the one stat was really interesting in game 1. Boston, all the players on Boston have played 0 NBA Finals games. and Golden State's guys have played 123.
Crazy.
And I don't know if that includes, Steve Kerr. If you add Steve Kerr in there, it's probably close to 200 or probably close to 150. But, just to come out with no experience and get that done on an experienced team's home floor, I really like the position that Boston is in right now.
I will say there's one stat that's going for Boston right now. And this goes back from the last 4 NBA finals, right? Ready? 2019, the Toronto Raptors won the NBA finals. They beat Jimmy Butler's 76ers. 2020, the Los Angeles Lakers won the bubble finals. They beat Jimmy Butler's Miami Heat.
Oh, my Lord.
2021, the Milwaukee Bucks won the NBA finals. They beat Jimmy Butler's Miami Heat. And now we come to 2022, and who beat Jimmy Butler's Miami Heat? The Boston Celtics. It's a conspiracy stat, but it's a stat that has worked 3 years in a row, and it might work 4 years in a row. Jack, I don't know how you feel about that.
This just shows me that the Eastern Conference is so strong. Won 3 of the last 4 finals if the Boston wins this one.
Yeah. So thanks for that, Ryan.
The other
that's a stat that I've saw on TikTok, and I was like, this is worth mentioning because it's worked 3 years in a row now. But go ahead, Jack.
Speaking of another TikTok stat, over the last 75 and I think 76 years now, a former New York Knick has been on one of the 2 NBA Finals teams. So shout out the Knicks for letting all their homegrown talent go away. But anyways, the more important stat that I wanted to bring up was the Basketball Power Index, the BPI, which is something that I used actually to help pick my Houston Cougars pick to beat the Arizona Wildcats this March Madness.
Oh my God. I hate where this is going.
The BPI for this series gives Boston an 86% chance to win compared to the 14% that Golden State has. So based on science, I thought that was, first of all, way too high, but it really made me rethink my pick for this series. And I really think, after seeing that and thinking back to why I love this Boston team so much, their defense, the way they play together, and their coaching. That's ultimately what gave me the confidence to pick them to win this series in 7. But regardless, I think it's going to be a back and forth series, and it's going to go the distance. But according to the science, Boston should win this series and pretty handily. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, look, I hope Boston doesn't win because I just don't like Boston. But I also don't like Golden State, so I don't know. This is weird. But anyway, I hope Golden State wins because they're my boys, and I picked them from the start of the year. But look.
What?
I picked them from the start of the year. Did I not?
You just called the Golden State Warriors your boys?
Because I picked them from the start of the year. That's why. Not not because I love them, but because I picked them from the start of the year. That's why.
Are you a Cavs fan, or did I miss?
Look, yeah, wait. Are you just one of those bandwagon Warriors fans that comes out this time of year?
Look.
When the Cavs are done.
Look, I used to hate Draymond, but he's turned into actually kind of a nice guy, a chill guy.
Oh yeah, because he's a podcaster now. You like him?
Yeah, he's on TNT. Okay. He goes on Inside the NBA.
I love him on TNT.
I do too.
Yeah, he's good on TNT. Yeah, and also, I still hate Klay Thompson. This guy smirks after he hits 3 shots. I can't stand it. I still hate him.
Imagine us with Luka, dude.
Literally.
Imagine how we feel about Luka.
Hey, you think about me with Trae Young, okay? This guy waved goodbye to our fans on our home floor after he beat us. I hate him, okay? I don't like him either. So we all have players that we hate. Okay. I also hated KD, the snake. He ruined the league. It was a fun rivalry until he got to Golden State. But look, that's kind of off on another tangent. But look, Trevor, did you want to say something? I didn't want to, I don't know if you had something else.
Yeah, I have a shout out.
Yeah, go ahead. Let's hear it.
Shout out U of A women's softball, baby. First win at the Women's College World Series last night. We eliminated fellow Pac-12 foe, Oregon State. Shout out Carly Scoopin, 3 of 3 with a huge RBI double in the bottom of the 6th inning to lift the Wildcats. We play again on Sunday. We either play Texas or Oklahoma, preferably Texas because Oklahoma is the #1 ranked team in the country. But shout out the U of A softball team, one of 6 teams left competing for a national championship. Can't say that about basketball, but I can say that about softball. So,
meanwhile, going back to my BPI point, Houston was above both Arizona and Villanova, and I picked them to beat Arizona, and I picked them to lose to Villanova, and I was right on both of them. Anyway,
Oh wow! I wonder how
the
1 for 20.
the science
for
does
20.
the science doesn't always
The 1
work
for
out.
20.
Let me preface that.
Did
Just
the
against the
science?
good
Did the
teams,
science prepare
doesn't
the
work
1
out.
for 20 shooting from 3?
Just against
Hey,
the good
Trevor.
teams, the science doesn't work out all the time.
Hey, Trevor, according to your own argument, it's the defense that causes that, okay? Come on.
That's true.
All right.
By the way, I have a
1
shout
for
out too.
20. I got one
I
more
have a
thing I
shout
want
out
to show
too.
you, fellas.
What?
Doesn't that look
Stop.
beautiful?
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Look, we'll talk about this on next week's pod. We'll talk about some more offseason rumors, some crazy, ridiculous Kevin Durant to Phoenix gossip. Okay,
Second best odds of any team that he's going to play for next season behind the Nets.
Good Lord. You know, what I wanted to say is that DeAndre Ayton's played his last game as a Phoenix Sun, but we'll talk about that next week.
Yeah,
as
because
well.
we're getting Kevin Durant.
Stop.
By the way, I got one shout out.
Yeah.
Shout out to, I know we don't talk about hockey on this podcast, but
Ooh.
first of all, the NHL playoffs have been fantastic.
Yeah,
Even though I've watched about 30 minutes total. It's just so back and forth. But anyways, shout out to my New York Rangers coming back from 2 different deficits to win 2 Game 7s, and now they lead 2-0 against.
Your New York Rangers?
Yeah, he's a New York fan. You didn't know this?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know who they're playing. It's either the Lightning or the Maple Leafs.
They are
He's playing the Lightning. Tim
They're up
Okay,
2-0.
I knew it was one of them.
Jack,
They
they're up
played earlier
2-0
in
on the
the postseason.
Lightning.
Huh?
The Rangers are up 2-0 on
Yeah?
the Lightning.
And
That's
the
what I'm
Lightning have
saying.
won. And the Lightning have won
Stanley
back-to-back
Cup
Stanley
playoff
Cups.
bound.
Yeah,
Watch
yeah.
out.
So
Shout out Rangers.
they're up 2-0. You know.
Oh, actually, I do have one more shout out now that we're mentioning it.
Oh my.
Shout out Kyler Murray showing up to OTAs, looking good. Hollywood Brown, Kyler, James Conner, the whole gang is back.
Get out of here.
We're scary. We're gonna be scary, and
Uh-huh.
we'll talk football here in about a month or so. But Kyler Murray is back, ladies and gentlemen. Do not panic. He is back.
Oh, shout out to big.
odds-on
Hey,
cards
shout
to
out to
win
my
the
boy
division.
David Njoku getting his big salary, big extension. 4 years, 4 years, $56 million, baby. Yes, sir. Hey, they're
That might
laughing.
be the worst contract in NFL history.
They're laughing right now, but when David Njoku's a Pro Bowl tight end, with Deshaun Watson throwing him the ball, you won't be laughing as much. Okay, let's just say that. But anyway, shout out to him. He got paid. Good for him.
Good for him. And when Deshaun Watson makes his season debut in Week 14, I'm sure it'll be a great sight to see.
Look. You want to talk?
Trevor,
you want to talk about scary
week 1
teams?
next
Talk
year
about
will look
Cleveland.
pretty good, huh?
What's up?
Week 1 next year will be an exciting time for Browns.
Oh yeah, Week 1, 2023 will be a great time for Browns fans.
You guys are funny. But look, I'm hoping for the sake of my football team that Watson isn't suspended for a long time. Let's we'll see about that. But look, I don't know. We'll talk about football more in the upcoming weeks. We'll talk about more NBA offseason rumors, trades, free agent, draft stuff. We got the draft coming up in less than 3 weeks now. It's actually, I think, 19 days away. It's actually pretty close. So I'm excited for that. As a Cavs fan, you got one more lottery swing. So, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, until that time, I don't know. We'll just have to talk about the finals.
Trevor, don't you miss the lottery days?
Feels good never being in the lottery anymore.
Hey, imagine
Ryan,
picking Ayton over Luka and Trey.
I mean, over Trey I can live with, but over Luka, ugh.
Tough.
Ugh.
Tough. But look, we'll see what happens. The KD to Phoenix rumors
Imagine
are
picking
impossible. That
Anthony
won't
Bennett
happen.
number 1 overall over Giannis. I think Giannis was in that draft.
I think he was.
Yeah.
That was a bad draft.
As we
though,
conclude
okay?
the podcast, I just want to show
Ladies
you
and
guys just one
gentlemen,
more
I'm going to
time.
end this podcast here. I'm actually going to wait until he puts this photo down. I can't stand having this be the last thing you see on your screen. This is sickening. Wow, unbelievable. Kevin Durant going to Phoenix would be bad. The only thing that could work is if LeBron went back to Cleveland. We have the Phoenix and Cleveland rivalry. LeBron KD part 2. I'd love that, but we can all dream. We can all dream, can't we? All right, this is a good podcast. We talked about the finals, the conference finals results, whatever. And we'll be back next week talking more about the finals. Hopefully the Warriors win this series. I do not want Boston to win. But yeah, until that time, hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next week.
Ryan 0 for 4 on Boston.